Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are going to be talking about my labor and delivery video. I'm gonna do a story time for you guys. I feel like I needed to do a story time just so you guys could actually feel and like understand what was happening and what was going through, because I posted the video, but I honestly feel like it didn't really give it any justice of like what was happening or what was going on or anything like that, because there was also such little content. So I needed to do a story time, and I do a story time for all of my labors, so I wanted to just kind of bring you guys along, and I'm super excited. I haven't filmed a sit down video in a while. I'm not out of breath because I'm not pregnant anymore. But yeah, I'm in my bathroom. This is the room that has probably the best lighting. So I wanted to come on here. I'm literally in front of my window, and I'm going to just film this video for you guys real quick, tell you guys about everything. And I'm a whole mom of 3 children, 3 kids, guys. Like, I officially have 3 babies. Like, that's insane to me. Like, I still don't believe it myself, but life's been good though. I'm 2 weeks postpartum. I'm feeling great. The first week was definitely a little bit harder, a little bit rough. My recovery was definitely a little bit more intense this time around with baby number 3. I definitely feel like I was a little like in a little bit more pain. I was definitely feeling a little bit more weak. Even though it didn't seem like it, a lot of you guys were like, it doesn't even seem like you had a baby. I was dying, like inside, for sure. Like the last week of giving birth, like that last week right before I gave birth, and then that first week of delivery, I was really feeling it. Like, I feel like my body was definitely tired. I was exhausted. I felt it for sure with this 3rd one. But let's get started with the story time. So if you guys remember, I was on Instagram, and I don't want you guys to think that that was staged at all, because it wasn't. A lot of you guys thought that I was like pretending or like it was played out. So like I played it out to like give myself more time. But on the 18th, that morning when I was at Kaiser and I was like at my doctor's appointment, I was doing like questions and answers, and I was telling you guys that I was like super tired, that I was you know, waiting for the baby to come naturally. All of that content that I posted was all real in like real time. I went to my doctor's appointment. It was going to be my last doctor's appointment until I got induced. My scheduled induction was going to be for Sunday. So to give you guys a little bit of background, my baby was growth restricted. Basically, they didn't know why, but baby was growing at a very slow rate. As a mom myself of 3 babies now, I genuinely thought that the baby was going to be small just because I have always had small babies. But apparently there was something different about this pregnancy, because I immediately at 26 weeks, 27 weeks, roughly around there, I started getting monitored for high risk, because baby was measuring on the smaller side. So he was measuring under the 10th percentile for quite some time. And that made my OB basically be concerned and started monitoring me twice a week. And I was seeing her weekly, and we were doing like NSTs to like monitor baby's heart rate, making sure that he wasn't under distress, anything like that. So I appreciated the fact that like as soon as this happened, my doctor took the initiative to make sure that she was watching me, monitoring baby, monitoring myself, to make sure that everything was good. But me in my heart, I genuinely just tried to remind myself, like, Blanca, you make small babies, like you've had 2 small babies already, like everything's gonna be okay. But it was a very stressful pregnancy, guys. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was under a lot of stress this whole pregnancy. And I feel like that also played out on why I wasn't really gaining a lot of weight. I was going through a lot of anxiety. And you guys know that when I go through anxiety, I end up like losing weight. So I feel like a lot of that stuff ended up playing out, and it was like really hard for me, because I felt like I kept blaming myself for not being able to like gain weight, eat, and like feel good to help my baby grow. But I was just under so much stress and emotions at the time that I felt like so much was happening, you know. But yeah, that was the whole pregnancy. So for you guys who were wondering what was the background behind that, and also because my body naturally goes into labor and my water breaks around 37 weeks, they were concerned that I was going to go into early preterm labor. So that was just two things that were just kind of happening. Me going into preterm labor and then me also having a really small baby. So we were hoping that baby at least made it to 37 weeks, and then at 37 weeks we would do a induction. The reason why we were going to do an induction is because my doctor basically recommended that baby is usually safer outside of me than inside of me if baby's not getting any nutrients. A lot of the times when babies are growing on the smaller side, it could be like a placenta issue, it could be like, you know, a birth defect, like it can be a lot of stuff that could possibly play out why baby wasn't growing. I didn't get any additional testing done. I basically told them, you know, I was going to just pray that everything came out fine, and we were just gonna hope for the best and hope that we at least made it to 37 weeks, so the sun's going down. So yeah, so thankfully we made it to the 38 week mark, and my water broke naturally. So I was a little nervous about my induction date being scheduled for that Sunday because I didn't want to get induced. And that was just because with Max, they bumped me up to a bunch of Pitocin and I was like dying. And I obviously heard that anytime you get induced, like you go through excruciating pain. But then I ended up realizing that they gave me Pitocin for Camila too. So I think the Pitocin is just something that naturally just happens for them to bump up labor, because they actually gave me Pitocin with Mateo as well, even though my water broke. But I'll get into that. So that morning that I was talking to you guys, and I was telling you guys like, oh, my induction date is going to be scheduled and we're just waiting for baby to come. Well, Lisa and I went to Ruth Chris. We went to dinner, and when we went to dinner, I was like, I want to eat something good. Like, I don't know if my body was just naturally like knowing that it was gonna go into labor, but I was like, I want to eat something good. Like, let's go to Ruth Chris, babe. And he was like, okay, let's go to Ruth Chris. And I ate good. So we went to dinner, and then we came back home. And then when we got home, my mom was with Max and Camila, and I was laying down. She was like, do you want me to cut you up some piña? And I was like, sure. So I was eating a lot of pineapple already because I knew that my induction date was coming. So I wanted to just try to help my body, even if I didn't go into labor, to at least help it know that we were going to be going into labor soon. So like my body could just like naturally, you know, like give birth. So I was eating pineapple, and like religiously my mom made me pineapple juice. She was giving me pineapple. I was walking as much as I could. I was having excruciating pelvic pain. So it was actually really hard for me to even get up, guys. Like for me, that last week, when I tell you guys that it was hell for me, I mean it. Like I would cry myself to sleep because of how bad my pelvic pain was. Like the pressure I felt, I couldn't even get up from the couch without like slowly just getting myself up and then standing up because of how much pain I was in. And my doctor was just like, it's normal. Like there's nothing really much that we can do. As you start having more babies, the pelvis just gets a little bit, it opens up faster and it gets weaker. So you're gonna be experiencing this pain. So, you know, I just dealt with it. So we were just trying to like get things moving. I was bouncing on the ball, like doing whatever I had to do, you know? So that day we ended up getting home. I was eating pineapple, and then I'm laying down, and I posted in the video in my vlog, and I showed you guys that I felt like a gush, I kind of felt like I peed on myself a little, but I already knew the feeling because my water broke actually with Max and Camila as well. So I was like, oh my God, my water just broke. I stood up and immediately everything gushed out of me. It was hard to tell on the camera, but my water gushed, like everything came out of me. With Camila, it was kind of like little sprinkles. With Max, it gushed out as well. And with Mateo, it literally gushed out as well. So I live from the hospital that we go to, I live about 30 minutes away. So I was like, oh my God, I need to get into the car immediately because it's my third baby and I had no idea how fast the delivery was going to be. I really felt it in my heart that it was going to happen really fast, and it did happen. My body did dilate really quickly, but the process of laboring was obviously not as fast. But we get to the hospital, and as soon as we get to the hospital, they verify that yes, my water indeed did break. And when your water breaks, they actually keep you there. They won't let you go home because there's a risk, you know, if your water breaks for a certain amount of time, like all that stuff. So my water did break. They checked me in, and I was at 1 centimeter dilated, and I was so sad. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Because with Max and Camila, my water broke as well, and my body did not go into labor. So I felt like it was just a routine. Like I genuinely feel like every single labor, even though it was so different, it all was very similar at the same time. At least the water breaking, my body not going into labor, and me having a 5-pound baby. Like all that was the exact same. So we get to the hospital and I'm 1 centimeter dilated. I am contracting, but because they weren't happening so consistently, my doctors basically said, let's bump you some Pitocin. We'll get you only a tiny bit because you're already starting to dilate, to just speed it up, you know? And I was opposed to it with Maximiliano, and I feel like that's why I had a 36-hour labor, because I kept wanting things to just happen naturally, you know what I mean? And I feel like after having so many deliveries, like I've learned to just kind of let things just happen instead of me trying to fight it, because obviously my body's not naturally going into labor. So something's happening, you know? Something's happening where my water breaks, but my body just doesn't go into labor. So with Max's labor, I was in labor for 36 hours. With Camila, I was in labor for about 9 hours. And with this baby, I was in labor for maybe like 14 hours, I want to say, or 13. I'm not sure about like active labor because my contractions didn't start hitting until way after. So we checked into our room at about 9 p.m. that night. And I honestly didn't start feeling like consistent contractions where I was like contracting and contracting and contracting until that next morning around 5 a.m. And around that time, we had already waited obviously from like 8 to that following day. It didn't feel that long. It went by really fast, if I'm being honest. And I think it's just because like I was like in and out of sleep. Lisa's was in and out of sleep. So like when we woke up, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, I'm still in labor and this is kind of what's happening, you know? So in between all of that, I'm dilated 1 centimeter. They end up giving me a little bit of Pitocin and my contractions were coming in. They were coming in consistently. I wasn't feeling anything. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, I'm not feeling anything. I'm happy. Like, yes, this is good. Like, I'm not feeling any pain. The nurses were like, you're not feeling these? And I'm like, nope. I was like, I'm able to breathe through them. Like, everything is good. And yeah, everything was perfectly fine. After the Pitocin, we started noticing that the baby's heart rate was going down. So I know that this is something that happens often when Pitocin is given to a mom. It can cause distress for the baby. And I was just like, oh my God, like I told the nurses, like, let's turn off the Pitocin because this is not, like, we should not be having the baby's heart rate dropping like this. Like, if I'm contracting consistently, like, let's just let my body just keep contracting, you know? So we stopped the Pitocin. And the doctor came in and basically said, you're running out of amniotic fluid. Like the baby is, you know, his heart rate's kind of going down because you're losing a lot of the fluid because your water broke. And I felt it. Like I felt my water just kept coming out. I would get up and it would just gush out. I was laying in bed and it was just gushing out. And it was something that I had actually never experienced with my other two. Like my water broke and kind of just like, I still had water, I'm guessing, in there. But this time around, I felt the difference. I was like, so much was coming out of me. And I was just like, hey, like, is that normal? So it ended up being that, yeah, I was losing a lot of water, in the sense like a lot of water was coming out. So they ended up putting this like catheter up inside of me and they filled me up with water. The catheter goes up to the baby and it apparently gives the baby more cushion to like get his heart rate to get normal again. So they took me out the Pitocin and then they put me back on. They put the water inside of me so that way the baby could be fine. Heart rate was fine. I was so nervous. I was so scared because I know that a lot of the times when baby's heart rate drops like that, there's a big chance that you could go into like an emergency C-section if baby's heart rate keeps dropping, you know? So obviously I'm by myself, like I'm with Ulises, you know? So like I didn't have like my sister there this time and it was by choice. I didn't have anybody in the room with us. Nobody even knew we were in labor besides my mom. And I just wanted to experience something a little bit different. I will admit I was regretting it because I feel like I definitely needed my sister there, even though like Ulises was, you know, trying his best to like calm me down and stuff. I felt like I needed that extra support of at least having her there to just kind of like calm me down, or like everything's gonna be okay, like everything's gonna be fine. And I feel like I didn't really have that. So like I was just under so much anxiety. And then when all that stuff happened with the baby's heart rate, I was just like, oh my God, like if I have an emergency C-section, oh my God, like I'm gonna be so scared. Like I was just a lot of stuff. Like I was overanalyzing everything, guys. Like my whole time that I was there, I was literally, I'm surprised my blood pressure was under control because I was panicking, okay? And like, it was my 3rd delivery and I just kept thinking about Max and Camila. Like, am I gonna like make it out of this? Like I was just overthinking my whole entire life. I'm like, am I gonna be okay? Like, is everything gonna be fine? Like, I was just getting so frustrated and I was getting so desesperada, you know? So that morning, after we got the baby's heart rate to like, you know, stabilize, my body started contracting naturally and everything was fine. Everything was like, my contractions were coming regularly. I was feeling them, but I wasn't feeling them super aggressive. So about maybe like 9 or 10, honestly, I don't even know my times, but this is once I start getting to the point of like pushing, you know. I'm getting to the point where my contractions are coming in rough and I'm changing positions. I'm like getting on my hands and knees. I'm trying to like get through it. My nurse, let me tell you guys, my morning nurse was absolutely amazing. Like from every child, like I've remembered a great nurse, and like this nurse, he was just everything. Like honestly, like he made everything with the experience absolutely amazing. Like he kept me so calm. Like I am actually trying to like make like a little basket for him to take it to him because I just am so freaking grateful for him being there because I felt so at ease and so like good while I had him there. Like I felt comfortable. And I told him like, oh, like, you know, I wasn't trying to get the epidural at that moment, but that I wasn't opposed to it. And he was like, hey, if you're trying to go natural, like I'm here to support you. Like I'm gonna help you. Like, do you want me to bring you a bar? Like, do you want to move around? And honestly, like I feel like if I would have maybe moved a little bit more, I feel like things would have been a little bit different. And that's where I feel like I needed my sister, because like my sister would have told me like get my ass up. And I feel like I was just in so much pain because of my pelvic, because I couldn't really move, that I just kind of laid in bed most of the time. And I feel like I messed myself up by doing that. Because by the time I did start moving around, I did start noticing like, you know, some changes, some pain relief and all that stuff. But I was just in so much like pelvic pain, not even contraction pain, but like my pelvic was hurting so bad that I didn't even want to move. Like turning over hurt, you know what I mean? So it made me very like minimal to like movement. And I started getting contractions pretty consistent. I was feeling them like every 2 minutes, and they were getting rough, and I was feeling them in my back, like aggressive. Again, back labor, sunny side up baby, and I was feeling it. And I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna get through this? I started just having flashbacks with Max, you know? And with Max, I ended up getting the epidural at 7 centimeters, and I was in the worst pain of my life. So as soon as I knew that I was experiencing this back labor, I told Ulysses, I'm gonna call my midwife, and when I tell my midwife to check me, if I'm not at least 7-8 centimeters, I'm gonna get the epidural. I was like, there's just no way that I'm gonna be able to deal with the pain that I'm feeling right now for another 10 hours while I'm in pain, because I felt like I was reliving my moment with Max, you know? And I feel like this is why sometimes don't go in with the mentality of like what your birth plan is gonna be, because it's not gonna be like that. And now that I've experienced epidural, I've experienced a natural labor, ideally I did want my body to just do what it was supposed to do, but I also wasn't going to give myself this traumatic labor because I was wanting this so bad. You know, I was like, why am I gonna put myself through that? Like, I'm just gonna get the medication if I need it, right? So I end up telling my nurse, let's just get the epidural. I'm gonna make the final decision once my midwife comes in and checks me. So the midwife comes in and, you know, she does the cervix check. I only had about 2 cervix checks by that point. My first one said that I was at 1 centimeter, and then the next one was gonna be at 4 centimeters. So she checks me and she's like, you're about a 4, like a 3.5, 4, and the baby is really high up. Like, I'm not gonna forget her saying baby's really high up. Like, he's like, I can't even touch baby's head. I was like, I felt so discouraged. And this is why I mentioned to you guys in my story that cervix checks are not that important, because you don't know how fast labor is gonna come based off of a cervix, like your cervix being checked. That's why I don't know why a lot of doctors do so many cervix checks, because it doesn't determine anything, because I'm the prime example of what just happened, okay? So she tells me baby is super high and that I'm only 3.5 to 4 centimeters dilated, and I felt so discouraged. I literally wanted to cry. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Am I gonna be in labor for like 24 hours and experience max all over again, you know, when this is supposed to be my third baby, this is supposed to be easy, this is supposed to be fast, you know, like that's what I kept thinking in my head. And at that point I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna get the epidural. I'm gonna enjoy these next hours. I'm not gonna put myself through all this pain. Like, I'm gonna just chill, I'm gonna relax, and I'm gonna get the epidural. So the nurse was like, are you sure? Because he saw me like, girl, you're not really like that much in pain, like why are you gonna get the epidural? And I was just kind of like, let's just get the damn epidural, you know, like let's just do it. And he was like, okay, so let's get it. Obviously I was nervous because I don't like medicine, and the epidural scares me more than the actual delivery itself. Like, the epidural just fucking gives me anxiety, you know, because I don't know, I get scared. So the guy comes in, he, you know, does his little rundown of like what we're doing, how we're doing it, and I'm getting my contractions in, so I have to stay very still. You know, they bend you down with like this little thing that you put your head in, and the nurse was like, Ulises had to leave. Ulises actually ended up getting out of the room. I had to do the epidural by myself. So I'm like holding the nurse's hand, I'm like holding it super tight, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, no, don't be sorry, you're good, you're fine. Like, squeeze my hand if you're nervous. Like, I'm telling you, he kept me so calm and so relaxed. And I was just like holding his hand, and I was like, oh my god, like, oh my god, oh my god, I can't believe, I'm telling you guys, I was more nervous for the freaking epidural than anything. So they numb me, they poke my back, they numb me to like prep you. So they put like a little plastic thing. You guys know the epidural. If you guys have gotten the epidural, you know what the process is. So they numb you, and then they actually stick the tube that you pump the medicine with. So they, you know, stick the tube in, and then they finish me up. And as he's wrapping me, like I'm feeling my contractions coming in like every minute. Like, oh my god, like I am feeling the contractions. And I look at him and I'm like, when does the medicine kick in? Like, you already did it. And he's like, oh, it's gonna take 15 minutes. I didn't even know that it took 15 minutes. I thought that shit was just like, you go numb, you know? It was like the first time I was flabbergasted. I was like, 15 minutes? I don't remember it taking this long, because like with Max, I felt like I had instant relief, and I went numb like pretty fast. So I was just like, why is it, I kept telling him like, why do I feel so much pressure? So right when I said pressure, we all kind of looked at each other, and then he said, what kind of pressure? Like, the nurse was like, what kind of pressure? And I was like, I feel like I have to push. I said, I feel like I have to take a poop. I was like, I feel like I have to shit, you know, like I am about to like take a fat deuce, okay? And then he's like, are you sure? And I said, yes. I said, I have to go to the bathroom, like I have to go. And then he was like, no, let's figure this out. So then my midwife runs in, as I'm like barely laying down, okay, from like what just happened. And the midwife runs in, and she's like, what's going on? I said, I have to push. And she's like looking at me like, I just checked you, like not even 15 minutes ago, like I just checked you, and the baby was high. So she goes in, and as soon as she lifts up my little gown, she like barely puts her hand in, and she's like, baby's coming, baby's crowning, baby's here, baby's like, he's coming. And then Ulises was nowhere to be found, guys. Ulises was not in the room, and he went to freaking downstairs to get, I think he went to go get like water or coffee or something. And I was panicking. I was like, and at that moment, I didn't even care if Ulises was in the room or not. I was like, get this baby out of me now. Like, I wish all that stuff would have been captured in the video, but because I didn't have anybody else in the room recording, it was hard for me to capture all this content, you know, because I couldn't just grab my camera and be like, guys, I'm about to go into labor. Like, it missed it. That's why I needed to give you guys a story time. So I look at the nurse, and I'm like, I can't hold the baby. Like, every contraction was, I felt everything, guys, because the epidural didn't even get a chance to, like, I was kind of starting to feel like my leg go numb. And by that point, I honestly don't even know what my nurse did, because as soon as the baby was delivered, I asked him, I said, hey, like, did you turn off the epidural? And he was like, he's like, yeah, babe, that's been off, you know? So I honestly have no idea what happened. I have no idea what the process was, but I was just, baby, get this baby out. Like, that was like tunnel vision. I was just like, and I felt like they were taking so long. Like, Ulises finally ran into the room. I texted him and I was like, baby, the baby's coming. He's like, I'm already coming up, you know? So he's like running into the room. He comes in, and thank God he set up the camera. Like, he had enough time to like think about setting up the camera because it was all happening so fast. But I felt like my midwife was taking so long, and my nurse, the guy that I told you guys that was amazing, he was like, we need to get this baby out, like we need to get the baby out now. Like, he was pushing, he was advocating so much for me, guys, that I am forever grateful for him, because I kept looking at him and he kept looking at me, and he's like, at this point we just need to get the baby out. Like, who, like, they were about to volunteer one of the nurses, like, who's getting the baby out, you know, like who's gonna catch the baby, because it needs to happen, like let's get things moving. And he was like, come on guys, let's do it, let's get her to push, let's get her out. And my midwife was kind of like, let's hold it, let's wait. And I'm like, I don't understand why doctors do that, why they tell you to wait. But she's like, let's just wait, let's wait for husband. And honestly, I didn't even care. I was like, no, like get this baby out. Like, I didn't, honestly, like I was panicking that Ulysses wasn't there, but at that moment I just wanted the baby out of me. Like, I didn't even care if he witnessed it. Like, I would have like told him about the experience and called it a day, you know. But thankfully he was able to run it. He was already coming up, and you know, he was able to set up the camera. And even while I'm setting up, you guys are seeing like the nurse saying, I mean the midwife finally like saying like, okay, let's get this push, let's get pushing. And she was like so relaxing word, like she was just so calm, which I appreciate, but I was just like, get this baby out of me. But she was just like so calm, and I felt like it was taking forever, and I was trying my best to like keep myself together. I was like trying to breathe through everything, and like I felt calm for some reason. I just felt relaxed, I felt good. But I was also confused. I was so confused. Like, I don't even know how many times I asked my midwife, like, why did this happen? Like, how did I go from you telling me that I was not ready? I feel like I was more sad, guys, because although I was very voluntarily trying to get the epidural, I was just more sad that I felt like they poked me for nothing. Like, I felt like I got the epidural for no reason, because I felt everything. It happened so quick. And I told Lisa, I was like, do you think because I had to relax when they were gonna give me the epidural that my body just poop, let the baby come out? I don't know. I honestly don't know what caused that from 4 to 10 to happen. That's never happened to me. Like, I've gone from like 7 to 10, but never from 4 centimeters to 10 centimeters in a period of 5-10 minutes. Like, that was like so crazy to me that I was just like, what the fuck? And after it happened, I was like, at least if it would have worked, like if the epidural would have kicked in and I would have been numb to the pain, like really numb to the pain, I feel like I would have appreciated it, and I would have been like, at least it was worth it. But I felt like I just got poked for no fucking reason, and I was so upset. But thankfully, like I was telling my sister, you know, they weren't able to administrate like a bunch of medicine into me or anything like that. So I'm like hoping that it makes a difference, you know, because like I do believe that the epidural does cause, you know, like long-term effects in the sense of like back pain and like all that stuff. Like, I really do believe that that does happen from just people I've talked to, and they feel like they've never been the same after getting it. I feel like that's always what's kind of scared me. And what's pushed me to not, you know, do it. But regardless, any delivery, any labor is gonna cause back pain, you know? So it's like, I'm kind of 50-50 about it, but I was just more like, fuck, like I told Lisa, I was like, I feel like they just fucking poked me for no reason. I'm like, I wonder if my body would have just done that naturally. Like, I wonder if my body would have just, if I would have just got up, if we would have done that. I'm like, I don't know. I was like, or did that process help, you know? So I'm never gonna know. I'm never gonna find out. If any of you guys have ever experienced anything like this, let me know. I know that it's common to happen after you get the epidural, in the sense of like once your body is numb and relaxed in a few minutes, like hours have happened, that you'll go into labor and like your body relaxes. But the process, I've never experienced that, because like I'm saying, guys, I didn't even get to enjoy the epidural. Like, I didn't even get to enjoy the relaxation, the epidural nap after contractions, you know? Like, I didn't get to experience any of that. It just happened. But I'm also so thankful for that. Like, I told Elisa, like, I was so happy that after that happened, the baby was here, you know? And I didn't have to wait extra hours to meet my baby, or going through to a longer labor, you know? Like, it just felt like it happened so fast, and I was so happy about that. I'm recording. Give me like 5 minutes, I'm almost done. Okay. So yeah, so I was super excited about that. I told Lisa, like, I'm really excited that I was able to at least experience the quickness of it. And babe.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were filming that way.
So you just came in?
Yeah.
Baldy?
Little intermission.
I'm doing my labor and delivery story. So yeah, so Mateo ended up coming, and I'm actually really happy that it happened as quickly as it did towards the end, because I don't know how much longer I could have, honestly, like my mental health could have possibly. Babe, I'm gonna fight you.
You can hear that?
Yes, I can hear you.
So Ulisa's coming in and completely interrupted me. I forgot to mention the most important part. So Mateo, when he was born, on his umbilical cord, he had 3 true knots. If you guys are not familiar with true knots, they can happen. It's more likelihood of having 1 true knot, but 3 true knots is honestly very rare. And if any of those knots would have actually tightened, it could have potentially caused me to miscarriage or for me to give birth to a stillborn baby. After knowing the risks, it's honestly so scary, but I'm so thankful and happy that baby was okay and I gave birth to a healthy little boy.
Like, I don't know how much longer I could have possibly have done of being in labor. So all of that played out really well. So it was just a completely different experience for me to, you know, go from 4 to 10 super quick like that. And now I'm honestly just so happy. I feel like I'm on week 2 and I'm probably feeling the most like myself. I know it's gonna take some time for me to like really feel like 100% like myself again, but I feel good, like compared to like when I was pregnant to where I'm at now. Like I feel great, like I'm not tired, like I'm not out of breath, like I just feel so much better. And I'm starting to genuinely feel like myself. Mateo is such a good baby. You know, we've had a couple of rough nights where he's a little fussy and stuff, but for the most part, like he's honestly such a chill baby. He's always sleeping, like he's so calm and he's so cute. And I'm just so excited. Like I love being a mom and I love my babies, and he's just the cutest thing ever. Like even when he's crying in the middle of the night and like I'm annoyed, I just look at him, and I was telling Lisa this earlier, I was like, I just look at him and I'm like, you're so cute, like I can't even be mad at you, like you're just so adorable. But yeah, that's pretty much the labor and delivery story. I am going to be posting my vlogs of like the next couple of days, like how the days have been, you know, adjusting to being a mommy of 3, having 2 toddlers, obviously, well, my 2 little ones, and then a newborn in the house, and how much everything's changed, kind of what we're doing, and how that adjustment has been, to just kind of keep you guys in the loop. But I wanted to just give you guys the story time so you guys can really feel and understand what was happening. It felt like it was definitely faster, and I am going to be honest with you guys, I genuinely feel like it also was calm, in the sense of like I didn't feel like I was under so much, not calm because I was stressed out, but like calm in the sense of like I felt like my body didn't go through so much. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like honestly, like I was trying to explain it to Elisa's, where I was telling him like this labor just felt different. It felt like it just happened, you know, like the baby just came out, and I didn't feel like my body was put under so much distress and pain and like agony and like, oh my god, like this hurts so bad. Like honestly, like I feel like I walked in, I laid down, I felt a couple of pains, some contractions, and then baby was here, you know. So I'm very thankful and grateful for that labor. I feel like it was definitely not what I expected, but I'm so grateful for it. Like I'm happy that everything turned out great. We have a healthy little baby boy. And yeah, now we added Mateo to our family. But I am going to update you guys, like I said, on my vlog, and I'll have more. Maybe I'll do a Q&A if you guys have any questions of just like the process, or just like different things you guys want to know. Let me know down below, and I'll do like a Q&A for you guys. But for today's video, it's just a story time, and I wanted to just jump on here and share that with you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will see you guys on my next one. Love you guys.